All right, guys, welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys here for day two of our challenge. It's not really a challenge, day two of this workshop series where we are resetting. We're resetting our mindsets, we're resetting our businesses for the new year. And at the time of this recording, the new year will be 2025. And I'm really excited about that. I know that many people had great years, and there are some people who are like, "Oh, this year was rough," and I'm still building for next year. I don't know what to expect for next year, but I want you to know that you know mountains usually come after the valleys. Like you really can. Next year can be light years ahead of what this year is. Every time I work with a client, um, they always come to me with one thing, like saying, "Hey, like you keep talking about building this profitable business. I've never made more than X amount, I've never made more than 10,000, 30,000 in a year." And a year later, a year and a half later, they've mastered running a six-figure business. Like it doesn't have to take that long. So I want you to know that you just got to learn what you don't know. You have to unlearn the things that are not helping you. We unlearned a lot yesterday. If you didn't watch day one, make sure you go back and watch it with the mindset training, like six-figure mindset training. We unlearned a lot because both are necessary. To grow into the new year. So for those of you guys who are joining in, popping in on the live, do me a favor, leave a comment. Just let me know where you're tuning in from, your city, your state, your country, even if you're outside of the U.S. I always just like to know who's here, who's on the live, and yeah, and all of that. Also, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, right? You can drop them in the chat and I'll answer them once I get a chance. There is a bit of a delay whenever there's with any kind of live stream. There's, I want to say, about a 30-second or so delay. So I would love for you to ask questions early as soon as you have them. And then when I get a chance, I'll go back and answer them before I go ahead and end the live. All right. For those of you who are new here, who are like, "Oh, this just popped up, I don't know who this lady is." My name's Faye Shella. I'm the owner of Statuesque Events. We're an event planning company, and we plan weddings. We also plan corporate events all over the United States, though we're based in the DC metro area. I live in Laurel. Um, I am also a coach to creatives, to event professionals primarily, but I've also coached podcast creators, just people in all industries. I'm helping others start their coaching programs. There's just a lot of different areas that I coach in, specifically for those who are creative, right? Who have some sort of creative process. And that's what I love to do. All right. So here on this channel, we like to bring lots of content for all categories. For those of you who are looking for inspiration for your events, and also, of course, coaching, because I found that a lot of people who are following this channel are in the industry, and I want to give as much as I can to help you. All right. So this is my free end of year series, the revenue reset for wedding and event professionals. And I'm excited to have you guys here. For those of you who are like, "This is great, I want to learn more about how to work with you," all that info is in the is going to be added to the comments. So always check the comments, the description rather. The description always has all the links of how you can work with us and learning more about us. All right. So like I said, yesterday we kicked off day one going into mindset work. We're unlearning what's not helping you. We're letting go of the things that are holding you back from building that profitable six-figure business. And we also adopted new mindsets about our business, which are really important. Now, Today, we're going to talk about your schedule. We're going to talk about managing it all, balancing it all. And that's really, really, really important. That's half of the battle, is getting your work done. Literally is half of the battle when it comes to running a business, because running a business is incredibly busy. Anyone who tells you that it isn't is lying to you. Running a business is incredibly busy, and it's important that we acknowledge that. And so we have to make the most of our time. So today we're talking about the six-figure CEO schedule for wedding and event pros. What does that look like? I really love talking about this because in the past, I was working in IT. I was working as an IT consultant for a while, and then an IT project manager, and then became an IT manager. But all of those jobs are very busy. All of those jobs are very demanding. They all required working during the day, lots of meetings. There are periods where we worked late for releases. We worked nights sometimes. We worked weekends sometimes, right, to do releases at times that were not disruptive to the schedule. And couldn't plan that far ahead for them, right? There was one time, no exaggeration, where I had a release scheduled on a weekend where I also had a wedding. The wedding went well. The release also went well. There were some issues actually on the vendor side, not with us. And I got a lot of accolades when I came in that week that, did everything I could have done to make that work. And people were very excited about the work I did. But both basically went well, still got them done. And I think this all comes down to scheduling. One thing that a lot of people asked me a lot when they found out that I was balancing this day job along with this business was, how do you get it all done? Because not only was I balancing the day job with the business, I also travel a lot. If you follow me on Instagram, just at Fayshala, just my first name on Instagram, you'll see I travel a lot. I did that a lot also when I had a day job. My family lives all around the country and in some places in the world. I like to go see them. Girls trips with my friends, I did that. I also was very involved in church, very. I'm still involved in church, not as involved as I was before, but I was in like 5 ministries, right? Choir, media, you know, um, choir, media, singles team, like behind the scenes project management. Like it was a long list of things that I was doing. And still, still, getting everything I need to get done for church, getting things I need to get done for clients, getting press features, going viral, booking new clients, all of that while having a day job. So I want you to know, and like I've said in many other videos, I also want to say here, I built my business to 6 figures before I ever left my day job, right? So I want you to know that you can do it. However, if you spend all of your time trying to figure out how to do it, that's not going to work, right? Because for me, I was running my business. Some days I would spend maybe 2, 3 hours on my business. Some days I would spend for maybe 5, right? If it was a day where I had more time. But that's all I had. My weekends, I was busy traveling, seeing family, whatever. During the week, some days I had church stuff, like I had different things going on. So I had to get a lot done in a short period, which means I'm not figuring it out. I'm just executing a plan. That's a large part of the reason that I strongly recommend for anybody who's side hustling, you need a coach. Really, let me coach you, right? Because you need to stop spending all this time trying to learn stuff from Google and just trying to pull in, like, and always trying to figure stuff out. You just need to do the thing. You just need to know the right thing to do and get it done. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. So that's just a little bit of background. Then I transitioned to full-time entrepreneurship. It was great. I spent a month just trying to, like, you know, enjoy the fact that I was going full-time. I had some things going on. A good friend of mine was getting married, her bachelorette. I spent more time just on myself for the first couple of weeks. And then I had a hard time getting a hold of my schedule. I felt like, whoa, there's just so much time. There's so much time. And it's almost like the days are moving faster because I'm full time. And it's almost like I'm getting the same amount of stuff done, sometimes even less. And all of that came from the fact that my schedule was broken. Right. And so I thought because I had more time, I was going to get more done, which isn't true. I had to have a schedule. So today we're going to talk about the importance of a CEO schedule to make sure you're getting things done. First and foremost, as a CEO, your job is more, and this is even if you are a solopreneur, especially if you're a solopreneur, your job is more than just delivering client work. If all you do is deliver client work, you're going to do a great job on the current clients you have, and you might look up and realize you don't have any others, right? And we don't want that, particularly if you're in the wedding industry where you're not as likely to have recurring business, like you're always kind of getting new clients, right? In the corporate space, it could be a little different. You could have more recurring clients, but it's more than that. It's more than just I did a good job. It's more than just replying to emails. Like you're also building a business, right? And so if that resonates with you, just do me a favor, type building a business in the chat. Building a business. You're building a business. And that's why I said CEO schedule, not just photographer schedule or event planner schedule. This is like as a business owner. One of the first things I like to work with clients is getting to the mindset that at this point you're a business owner first. You're a business owner before you're an event planner. You're a business owner before you're a photographer. You're a business owner before you're a DJ. If you want to grow your business, it has to be that high of a priority, right? And so building your CEO schedule has more to do with what are your priorities for the day than it has to do with then it has to do more with your priorities for the day, and then also how that fits into your day. So again, I'm going to break down 2 different kinds of schedules just for you to understand. The concept here is you want to put there's an analogy of trying to fill a jar. There was a teacher who was teaching students how to prioritize. And, he said, what happens if you put sand first. If you put sand into a jar and fill up the jar with sand, then you don't have space to add in any rocks. But if you start by adding in big rocks, you'll have space to add in smaller rocks and then to add in sand afterwards, right? So you want to make sure that you're starting with the big thing. And the big things is your personal life. Let's just start with that. It's going to be your personal life, making sure that whatever schedule you have with your children, whatever schedule you've agreed on with your spouse, it has to be realistic enough to include space for you to work on your business. But you start with that, right? The second thing after that, for those of you who have a day job, believe it or not, your day job is one of those things that you probably can't move around. You probably can't just change your schedule in your day job. Some people can, and that's great, but you probably have a set schedule. For most people, it's somewhere between 9 and 5, right? And then now we want to fill in all the important things around that. So the first thing that's super important in any business is marketing. You have to put the time in to market your business, write blog posts, work on your SEO, post on social media. Like all of those things are a high priority. The way when I was side hustling, the way that I had a part-time business, right? I wouldn't call it side hustling. I think very few people who call that phase of life side hustling move past it because you see it as a permanent thing. But when I was running my business in a few hours a day, the first thing I did every morning after praying was post on social media. That was my top priority of the day because I just needed to get it out of the way because I knew it was important. And I knew that if I didn't get it out of the way, I wasn't going to get to it later in the day. So the first thing I did, wake up, pray, meditate. Next thing, post on social media. The very next priority, right? The next priority after that is responding to any inquiries that came in overnight, because we all know, if you've been in this industry for a while, you know that you get a lot of emails at night from clients, which is understandable because they're working day jobs, they're busy, whatever, responding to those inquiries. I remember there was a time that, and this client ended up booking, but I woke up in the morning, did what I did, posted on Instagram, checked my email, saw an inquiry from a client who's a nurse. So I think she worked late and then, just inquired after she got off of work. And I responded to her and she booked a consultation with me that night. So that night, I had a consultation with her and her mom. And I want to say the next day or 2 days later, I had a signed contract and we began working together. And, that speed, attention to detail, all that is important. Now, I know some people say you should respond to every inquiry within an hour. If you're really busy, it may not be doable, but I do think it should be like relatively quickly. And I think having a routine where the first thing you do every morning is respond to an inquiry means that no one will ever wait more than 24 hours. In most cases, it'll be even less than that, right? So this was my schedule. Now, after doing those things, then shower, get ready, commute to work, right? And then my lunch hour was split in half. So during my lunch hour, respond to anything that's urgent, any emails I got that day, which are urgent, which there's usually not that. If you're doing things that are important, if you're like getting ahead, there shouldn't be a whole lot that you got to do that's urgent. But things like a vendor that I've been trying to get a hold of for forever that hasn't been responsive, and now I got to call them versus email, I would do that. Right. I would do things like, a client who's getting married in a few days, who something happened, right? I had a client, I was full-time by this point, but for instance, I had a client where one of the vendors had a death in the family, like a parent, and obviously could not make it to the wedding. And we had to find a replacement within a couple of days. Things like that are what I would consider urgent, and spend only 30 minutes of my hour break doing that and spend the other 30 minutes actually taking a break. It's important for your brain and for your productivity to actually take a break, to actually eat your lunch and all of that, right? And then complete the rest of my day. Now, 5 to 9 was the window in the evening where I would allow clients to schedule meetings with me. I still have a couple days a week where clients can schedule meetings with me in the evening because that's when most of my clients are available. So even though I'm full time, like they want to meet in the evenings, right? So I still do that now full time. It's just not every day, right? But then it was like every day during the week, 5 to 9, you could schedule a meeting with me. And if I had something else going on, choir rehearsal, meeting at church, date night, or whatever, I would block that off on my calendar, so that people couldn't get on there. But as you can see, like this is a nice clear schedule of what I'm doing. Now, there were a lot of times where I had things to do at 7. So I had this window of 5 to 7, and that's where I would get client work done, working on timelines, working on design plans, working on all kinds of things in that window that I have. Um, to get things done. So that means going to the library. Again, this is pre-COVID. This is before remote work was as prevalent as it is now. But go to the library and like that's nearby, or go to a conference room, whatever, somewhere where I could just have a little bit of quiet and privacy, and make the most of that time before I go to choir practice or whatever else is going on, so that I'm using that energy in delivering my client work, right? And then after whatever else I had to do, church, choir, girls' night, whatever. Personally, I am an introvert. I love people though. People don't believe me because they're like, "You're so talkative. You like people." Introverts don't hate people. We just recharge in solitude and we get drained by being around people. So generally, after whatever else I was doing, I just went home and go to sleep or watch a little bit of TV or something. But I just didn't have as much productive energy to give, which is why started the day with what was important, which was the marketing and sales work, right? So a lot of times building your schedule has a lot to do with understanding yourself, understanding what's important to you, right? And working around your energy. As the day goes on, my energy kind of gets drained, right? And because I love what I do, I love being an event planner. The truth is that a lot of client work is not it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult for me, right? If you're excellent at what you do, certain elements of what you do are not that difficult. It wasn't that difficult for me to put my design ideas down on paper. It wasn't that difficult for me to build a timeline. It's not difficult. It takes a little bit of time, but I don't need like top of the morning energy to do it. And the other thing is that I could do it in the evening without a I could do it in the evening at times that made sense. When it comes to communicating with people, I always wanted to communicate with people within office hours. So to clarify this, my office hours are still the same, but I built them when I still had my day job, which is 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's when you can expect to hear emails from me. That's for the most part, you can expect to schedule meetings with me. Sometimes I let people schedule 8 to 9, but those are my office hours. It's still an 8-hour day. And the reason for that is that at 12, for 30 minutes, I'm responding to urgent things. And then from 5 to 9, I have that window of time to work. Now, if this makes sense to you, if you're like, oh my gosh, this makes a lot of sense, I want to do that, let me know in the chat. Say, I love that. Like, just say, let's say, part-time CEO schedule. All right, type part-time CEO schedule in the chat if that resonates with you and if that makes sense. If you have any questions about managing a schedule this way, also leave that in the chat so I can answer that when I have a second. So again, your priorities here were your family, your family, job. Those commitments are more difficult to move, right? You're making those commitments. Those are like recurring commitments that you have that are difficult to move around. So everything else should be scheduled within that. Number one is your marketing work. Number two is your sales work. And then number three is your client work, right? And that's pretty much how I scheduled out my day. So I'm putting my best energy into my follow-up emails to clients, my best energy into my marketing. And then for everything else, I'm putting great energy. It's just usually isn't maybe as hard because I'm more, I'm good. You're good at what you're doing. You've been doing it for a while. For those of you who don't know, I've been planning events for almost 14 years. So there are certain things that it takes time. It takes thoughtfulness to get it right, but it's not super, super difficult for me. Right now, on the flip side, if you are a full-time entrepreneur, like for myself, you have to decide what you're doing with that extra time. That's what I always tell people. Things like when people say things like, "Oh, I just can't wait to go full time so I can grow my business." The question is, what are the things that you're going to do? The one question I always ask people is, give me a list of 3 things that you don't have time to do now that you're going to do when you go full time. And at least one of them should be helping to further grow your business. What are those things, right? Because if you don't have the answer to those questions, you're probably going to be a little lost with that extra time, right? Because you don't have I had like forced discipline within my schedule between the day job, choir practice, whatever else. When you don't have that, it's easier to get lost, right? And so I see a question here. What scheduling services do you use? The main scheduling service is Google Calendar. That's how I block off my time, right? If I have choir practice or whatever, go into Google Calendar and mark it as busy. And then originally I was using Calendly as my scheduler, like for other people to put time on my schedule, like for clients can schedule meetings with me was Calendly. Now I use HoneyBook. It's kind of one and the same, but it's just a tool. If you don't have a handle on your own schedule, the tool's not going to fix that, right? So you have to first understand this is what I'm doing every day. But the main thing is just Google Calendar. just the basics, right? If you prefer Outlook, you could do that too, right? But it's just keeping a calendar, keeping a routine, and then I just use Google Calendar to block off time whenever I'm busy, or using the scheduling link so that other people could see when I'm available and schedule time with me, and that's it. That's it, nice and simple. Um, all right, so now when you're going full time, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is first you got to answer the question: am I working? Am I going to continue working a 4 to 5 hour day? Right? Or am I going to work an 8 hour day and fill it with other things? One thing that changed for me, I knew when I was going to go full time, I knew I was going to spend more time working out and spending more time on my health. Not that my health was bad when I was, full time, but there's something about like working out and what it does to your brain. I was just like, that's one thing I know is a non-negotiable, that I need to like give myself a full hour every day, just focus on my health. Right. And that was something that was important to me that I just couldn't fit with everything else before. Um, and so that's one thing, but there were just other things like, I started, spending more time going to networking events, like just different things that were so difficult for me to fit before. I started fitting in now. I started diversifying into other areas, focusing more on corporate events, just putting more effort into strategizing about growth. And so that was helpful. But as far as running the core business of event planning, it still kind of fit within the same schedule and also within the same priority. The first thing in the morning that you should do is your marketing and sales work, because that's like chances are if you don't do that, you'll find things slipping through the cracks. If you're not responding to inquiries first things in the morning, you'll find it yourself like 3 days later being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I missed this, right? Like those are things you want to do. There's something about your email box that just sucks you in when you get into the chaos of oh, this person wants this, or this person asked me this, or I already told you that, now I got to repeat. Like there's something about that that can knock you off of your routine, right? And so the reason I like to start with marketing and sales is that it keeps me focused on getting those things done, like doing the things I need to do for me and doing the things I need to do to feed my business, because again, I'm a business owner first before I do everything that everybody else needs. And by doing that, my business and I stay healthy enough to continue to serve people, and to serve people with excellent energy, like with excellence. I think that a lot of times when you feel drained and you're struggling, it's because you're not like, you got to fill your own cup right before you fill others. And part of that is making sure that your actual business feels good, that you're not stressed, that you don't have enough clients and you don't have enough money, that you're like, okay, I feel good with where I'm at. I'm content, and I'm excited about doing the work that I have. So that's something that you want to do. So again, you want to build your own schedule. For me, what works for me may not work for you, but what works for me is a bit of a split schedule. So I do a lot in the morning. I like to read. I like to read books on strategy. I like to pray, all of that, and also do certain things like maybe marketing and sales related tasks. And then after that, I take a break. I take a break where I focus on working out and, doing wellness type things. And then I come back for a second shift in my day, which is generally focused on client work. And that's also generally when I have client meetings. Most of my client meetings are in the evening. In the afternoon and the evening, right? So if I do my early shift workout, blah, 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 then by noon, I'm ready to talk with clients. I'm ready to do a lot of that work. And then also to avoid burning out. That's why now, as a full-time entrepreneur, there are only 2 days a week that I take evening appointments versus every day, right? That way it's not like every single day I'm working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That can kind of be a little too much, even with a break in between. So that's pretty much how I work my schedule. There's some flexibility in there, but that's what that looks like. And again, starting with marketing and sales, like it's like my growth work happens in the morning because that's my best energy for me. It's also quieter for me. I tend to have less like chaos, like people asking questions, like just less of that in the morning. So I do more of my growth work in the morning, and then I do more of my client work, managing my team, like all of that stuff in the afternoon. Just to help me to stay focused. And so that's something that's really helped me a lot with having a CEO schedule. So I know we've talked a lot about it. We've talked about the two sides of it. And now I want to hear your questions. We have about 2 minutes left or so. I would love to hear your questions. What questions do you have? about managing your schedule. Or if you don't have a question, what is the hardest part about managing your schedule as a business owner right now? What is the hardest part? Like if you could fix one thing about your schedule right now, what would it be? Right? To allow you to get the things done that you need to get done. So while you guys are writing out those questions, I want to leave you with one final thought. Part of this is setting realistic expectations for yourself and with others. So you can't get every single thing done every day. You can't tell everybody I'm going to get that done by tomorrow for you, right? Sometimes it's, hey, that's going to take me a week. Even if you know it only is going to take you a day or two. You got to like give yourself buffer so that you have space for things that come in. You have space to get sick one day or to have an emergency, help a family member with an emergency or whatever is going on without being overly stressed out. And more importantly, you're giving yourself an opportunity to over deliver where you say you're going to do something by a certain time and then you just do it earlier. Who doesn't love that? So all of this helps. You with not having a to-do list that's unreasonable, having a to-do list with 20 things on it when you have a day job and children and volunteer responsibilities, right? All of this will help you to be realistic and to manage your schedule the best that you can. All right. So again, for those of you guys who are live, please drop your questions. For those of you guys who are watching the replay, also drop your questions because I come back, I read every comment and I respond to them. And for those of you guys who are watching, let me know. Did you enjoy this? Did you learn something from it? If you learned something from it, please drop it in the chat. I want to see who's on, but also I'd like to know what you took away or again, what your questions are so that I can serve you a little bit more. All right. So I'm going to give you guys about 20 more seconds to answer that. But while you're doing that, I just want to remind you, again, my name is Faye Shola. I am a creative myself and a coach to creatives like yourselves. I love helping other business owners grow their businesses. I literally get sad when I see people close their doors, when I see talented people go out of business. It actually makes me sad, whether I know them or not, because unless you just don't want to do it anymore, I just feel like there's always a way around it. And the issue is just that you just didn't find it, right? And so my goal is to help as many people build thriving businesses. I've loved working with people who are like, man, like my business isn't really bringing me any money. My husband says something's got to give. To now it's like, listen, my business is paying us a few thousand a month and my husband is so happy, right? And supporting my business. Or, oh my goodness, I can literally see myself doing this. And I have so much more confidence seeing what my business is able to generate. And not only am I generating more, my clients are even more happy with the outcome. This is what I love to help people to do. So if you're watching this and if you resonate, all you got to do, check out the description box. You can also send me an email or DM on Instagram. And just say, hey, I think you're my coach, and I'd love to send you options of how we could work together because we do have options of how we can work together on a long term with something personalized to make sure that you're hitting your goals. All right. So I love that. Mind blowing. I'm glad that this has been helpful. I'm glad that this is helping you to move to the next level. And I'm excited. We'll be back again tomorrow with another session. My goal is to keep it around 30 minutes. So tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern, I'll see you guys back here with another session. All right. I've been really excited about this, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am. But tomorrow we're talking about Profit Simplified. We're talking about basically what it looks like to pay yourself every single month, consistent salary, not paying yourself $1,000 this month, withdrawing $1,500 next month, and then paying yourself $2,000. Not that, none of that. We're talking about what it looks like to pay yourself a consistent amount from a business. And yes, most of our businesses are seasonal, but it can still be done. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And I'm really excited about helping you get set up and, just restructuring the way you're thinking about your business as we step into the new year. But for now, it's time to go. Ciao, enjoy. And I look forward to chatting with so many more of you guys in the DMs. All right. Goodbye.